I'm going to show you how to take a shrunken tiny jumper and make it into a big one. Mine was shrunken by the dry cleaners somehow, so whatever the reason is, sometimes your stuff gets too small and we're going to make it big again. First step is we need to undo the side seam. So I'm going to try and find a good spot on the inside or outside to identify where the thread holding it together is. Now obviously they've used a very like thread to the whole garment. In fact, they might have even used the same. So it might be a little bit tricky to find, especially in a black garment, but if you spread apart the side seam, you should be able to see a kind of ladder of stitches, and this is what you want to undo. So I've done a combination of cutting and like cutting in various places and then pulling it apart basically. Sometimes you get lucky because this is a chain stitch. Sometimes if you cut it once and pull the threads, they'll all just come out real nice and easy, which does happen to me here, but it doesn't happen every time in this garment. That might be because when the dry cleaner cleaned it, it kind of felted when it shrunk, so it's become a little bit tricky for me. If that's not happened to you, it might become easier, and you are very lucky. I'm jealous. If your garment hasn't been felted like mine, it might be a lot easier to take apart, so apologies for the take apart spam, I guess. Of course, it's always fun to try on afterwards as well. And to make it larger, I am going to use an old sock. These are super annoying because they always fall below my knees, so I am going to reuse them for this project. So I'm just going to line up the ends and pin it to the side seams of the jumper, trying to get it as even as possible. I've got a loose thread here at the elbow. Since my garment is white and red, I've made the bobbin white, and the top thread is red since my sock is on the top. I want that thread on the top. You don't have to be like doing the same thing like that, but I just thought it might look nicer if the threads matched the fabric on both sides, but it's not really like essential to fixing or making garments like that. Whatever you want to do, whatever color you want to use, doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna start sewing this now. I'm using like a straight stitch with kind of normal length, nothing real fancy or special here. I could use a zigzag since it's a stretchy fabric, but I don't really need it to stretch because I'm kind of making it oversized and I'd rather it be stronger than super stretchy. So I'm just doing a straight stitch here. Don't need to worry about the edges because they're knitted. It's not going to unravel, which is great. Just giving it a little test here afterwards, pulling it apart, making sure it's all strong and no holes have appeared. I pinned it together so there really shouldn't be any holes, but you never know. It's good to check. Ooh, sneak attack. I did not film sewing both sides, but hey ho, you get the idea. I also left a little slit at the wrist seam and the bottom of the side seam, just because I thought it might look cool to have some kind of slits in unusual places. So I'm trying it on here. I just want to see how that first round is going. It's looking good, so I'm going to start the next side. But before, I want to deal with these thread ends. So where it's been undone at the edge there are some little like flyaway threads. Now, you could cut these off, but you don't know what's going to happen. It might unravel some more. No idea. So I'm just weaving my needle through the previous holes, and then once I get to the end, I'm gonna poke that tiny little thread inside the eye of the needle and pull it down through where I've weaved, just to keep it safe and hidden, and hopefully it will not unravel. I have since worn this garment and it hasn't unraveled in any places, so this is just a safety precaution. Since we didn't make this garment, we don't know. Just try and keep it safe. I did trim the edge a little bit just to keep it clean too. Now I'm gonna go ahead and undo the other side, pin the other sock to this side, and sew again. So I've fast forwarded it. Enjoy the view of unpicking and sewing. And here we are, the final product. I'm going to go ahead and try it on over my cool outfit and see how it works. Oh yes, feels good. It's oversized now, it's very comfortable. I think it looks really funny having socks under my pits. If you don't have an extra long pair of socks to repair, you can also use another piece of fabric to add something to the side seam to like give it more space, whatever you want to use. I just happen to have these socks, so I guess it was kind of good luck that I found them and could reuse them in this way. But you can really use any other fabric. You might have to do a bit more measuring. I just sort of used what I had and put them together, so it's pretty easy.